Welcome to the deep dive. We're diving into a YouTube video today from Mindful Code called Building True Love: Why Seduction Fails.
Definitely going to be an interesting one. The title alone, right?
No kidding. It really jumps right into it too, saying seduction, especially when we're younger, is like a trap.
Which, I mean, I guess we've all been there, tried to play it cool.
Totally. But the video says that actually makes us weaker.
Yeah, it's all about validation, needing that external approval.
So what does that even look like, though? Like, if your self-worth is all about how many people you can attract?
You might not take risks, might not go for those things that help you actually grow.
So it's like you're building on someone else's foundation, not your own.
Exactly. And then what happens when you try to build something real, something deeper on that shaky ground?
It all falls apart. So then the video goes on to this whole scientific love thing, which I gotta admit,
It's a little out there.
yeah. But maybe there's something to it.
Well, it's about being intentional, like approaching a relationship, like, an experiment.
So less about love at first sight and more about, like, really understanding yourself first.
Yeah. Knowing your values, what you want, no matter what anyone else says,
And then finding someone who, I don't know, gets that.
and challenges you to grow. Which reminds me, the speaker talks about this idea of living by your values.
Right. And he even brings up his faith, how seduction goes against his principles.
It's bigger than just dating. It's about building a life that feels authentic.
So you're not looking for someone to complete you.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking for someone to grow with.
Exactly. And that journey, that's where the real magic happens.
Makes you think, what if we all spent a little more time working on ourselves before jumping into relationships?
Now there's a thought. What if we gave ourselves the time and space to really become who we are?
Instead of who we think we're supposed to be.
Now you're getting it. It's all about being true to yourself from the inside out.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal of this scientific love thing.
Right.
But what does it actually look like in practice? So how do we actually do this scientific love thing?
Well, remember, it's all about being intentional.
Right, like that whole experiment analogy.
Exactly. It starts with you.
Okay, so like figuring out what I'm actually looking for.
What are your values, your goals, not just for relationships, but for life?
Got to have that solid foundation first, right?
Exactly. And then, when you're getting to know someone,
This is where it gets tricky, right?
you got to communicate, and I mean really communicate.
No more playing games.
No more games. Be upfront about those values, those needs. Don't be afraid to scare someone off.
Because if they're not on board with the real you,
Then they're not the right fit.
it takes courage to be that vulnerable, though.
It does, but that vulnerability, that's how you build something real.
And it all goes back to personal growth, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Like the speaker in the video, he's focused on his own thing right now, traveling, studying.
He sees that as part of the journey.
So when he is ready for a relationship, he's bringing his best self to the table.
Precisely. And that's empowering, isn't it?
It is. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be committed to the process.
To your own growth, to being honest with yourself and others.
And this scientific love, it's not just for romantic relationships, is it?
Not at all. It's about all your connections, your friends, your family,
It's about showing up as your authentic self, no matter what.
and building those relationships on respect, on shared values, on real communication.
So it's less about finding the perfect person and more about being the right person.
Now you're getting it. It's about that inner work, that self-reflection, that honesty.
There's a lot to unpack, but it makes sense.
It does. It's about building a life and relationships that feel truly aligned with who you are.
I like that. Feeling aligned, feeling authentic.
Yeah.
But what about this whole seduction thing? The video makes it sound kind of scary.
Well, it can be if you're relying on it to get you something that's not real.
What do you mean? Like, is it really going to lead to all this regret? Seems kind of dramatic.
Well, think about it. If you're always trying to be what you think other people want.
You're never going to find that real connection.
Exactly. Because you're not even being yourself.
It's like you're living someone else's life.
And then you wake up one day and think, was that even my life?
And who's that person I was pretending to be?
It can be a tough thing to realize.
It can't. So, okay, if we're always focused on seduction, are we setting ourselves up to fail?
I think it's more about intention.
Right? Everyone wants to make a good first impression.
Of course. But are you being your best self or just the self you think they want to see?
That's deep. So this scientific love isn't about, like, turning off your personality.
Not at all. It's about being genuine.
Real, honest, all that good stuff.
Exactly. And trusting that the right person will appreciate that.
And the wrong person. Well, they can just move on to the next illusion, I guess.
You said it. It's about building something real, something that lasts.
Something that can weather the storm.
Exactly. And you don't get that from smoke and mirrors.
Wow, this whole conversation has been so eye-opening. So as we're wrapping up here, what's the one thing you want our listeners to walk away with?
You are worthy of love, just as you are. No pretending, no masks.
I love that. Be yourself, find your people, and build something real.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Big thanks to Mindful Code for the food for thought.
Definitely gave us a lot to think about.
It did. Remember, listeners, true love starts from within. Until next time, keep those brains engaged and happy learning.